He had everything: money, power, a last name that opened any door. She had nothing but the instinct to survive. When a street girl pulled a billionaire's son into a dark alley to save his life, neither of them knew it would be the beginning of a bond that would change everything. But not everyone wanted them to survive. He had everything: wealth, power, prestige, but no one who truly loved him. She had nothing, not a roof, not a name anyone remembered, but risked her life to save a stranger who looked at her like she was dirt. It was supposed to be just another lazy afternoon. Liam Carter, son of the powerful tech mogul Richard Carter, stepped out of his father's black Escalade, annoyed that the driver had dropped him 3 blocks early. 2 minutes walking, they said, but Liam hated walking, especially here, in the part of Eastbridge City no one in his family ever acknowledged existed. He adjusted the strap on his designer backpack. Inside, his brand-new white sneakers squeaked with every uncertain step on the wet, grimy pavement. His expression twisted as he stepped into a puddle and splattered mud across his pristine shirt. He swore under his breath and quickly rubbed at the stain like it could erase the place he was standing in. But something wasn't right. He could feel it, the stares, the silence, that eerie weight in the air. Liam glanced over his shoulder. 2 men had appeared out of nowhere, moving slowly but in sync just behind him. Their presence felt like static in his skin. He picked up his pace, heart thudding harder with every step. The streets were narrow, the buildings looming like they were closing in. No sign of security, no cameras, no one he could call for help. Even his phone had lost service. And then it happened. A hand grabbed his wrist so fast, so violently, he lost balance and stumbled backward. Before he could scream, he was yanked into the shadows of a narrow alley between 2 crumbling brick buildings. A girl. She slammed him against the wall with strength that didn't match her small frame. "Shut up," she hissed, her brown eyes scanning the street behind him. Her clothes were ragged, hair tied back with a broken shoelace, and she smelled of stale bread and city dust. But her gaze, fierce, sharp, fearless, held him in place. "What the hell are you doing?" Liam barked, pushing off the wall and brushing at his now filthy jeans. "Are you insane? Do you even know who I am?" She didn't blink. "Yeah," she muttered. "You're the boy who almost got killed." Liam paused. "What?" She nodded toward the corner, barely tilting her head. Liam followed her eyes and saw the 2 men standing right at the alley's entrance, one on his phone, the other staring into the dark where they hid. Suddenly, the noise of the street seemed miles away. His chest tightened. The girl pressed a finger to her lips. "Not a sound," she whispered. He obeyed, not because she told him to, but because for the first time in a long time, Liam Carter felt like a child again. Powerless. Small. Scared. The minutes ticked by in silence. The 2 men eventually drifted off, vanishing down the block. But the fear didn't leave with them. Liam collapsed to the ground, hands trembling. The girl sat beside him wordlessly. No questions. No thanks. Just the quiet comfort of someone who knew how to survive. "Why did you help me?" he asked finally, voice cracking. She didn't answer right away. Then she said softly, "Because I know what it's like to be invisible. And today, so did you." Those words hit him harder than any insult. Later, she led him through back streets until they reached a hidden alley, where cardboard and tarps formed a crude shelter. She pulled back a flap and gestured for him to enter. "This is where you live?" he asked, disgusted. "No," she said. "This is where I hide." Inside was nothing but a rusted cart holding a half-empty water bottle, a ragged blanket, and a shoebox filled with worthless trinkets. A broken spoon, a red button, a folded paper note she quickly hid when she saw him looking. She handed him half a stale loaf of bread. He scoffed. "This is inedible." "It's better than hunger," she replied, taking a bite of her own half without flinching. He hesitated, then bit in. And for the first time, Liam Carter tasted humility. "What's your name?" he asked quietly. "Ava," she replied. "Ava Brooks. Where's your family?" She paused, chewing slowly. "Gone," she said simply, like they never existed. That night, as Liam lay curled on the cold floor with nothing but a thin blanket between him and the dirt, he couldn't sleep. Beside him, Ava breathed slowly. Then he heard it. A soft, trembling sob. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't scared. It was the kind of crying that came from remembering something you wish you could forget, a kind of pain Liam had never seen up close. He stayed still. But inside, something cracked. The next morning, as light filtered through the ripped tarp above them, Ava rose before him. She folded the blanket like it was treasure and splashed her face with rainwater from an old coffee can. Liam watched her, mesmerized. She survived in a world that would eat him alive. And yet she saved him. He didn't understand why yet. But he knew one thing. He couldn't go back to being the same boy he was before. And neither could she. Do you believe someone who has everything can ever truly understand someone who has nothing? The day after the alley, something had shifted in Liam Carter. He couldn't explain it, but the city no longer looked like it had before. The streets felt heavier, the faces more tired, the silence louder. And Ava Brooks, the girl who dragged him into the shadows to save him, was no longer just a random interruption to his privileged life. She was the only person who had seen him, really seen him. They spent that morning walking in silence through narrow back streets. Ava's movements were quick, her senses always alert. Liam tried to mimic her pace, but everything felt unfamiliar. At one point, she paused and pointed to a dented metal gate between two crumbling buildings. "We can rest here," she whispered. Behind that gate was a small courtyard littered with rusted lawn chairs. Broken toys and a patchwork tarp stretched between pipes to create shade. A worn-out tabby cat lounged on a pile of old towels. A boy with a toy truck glanced at them before returning to his game. It wasn't a shelter, not officially, but it was one of Ava's hideouts, a place the city had forgotten, just like her. Liam sat down, exhausted. "How do you know all these places?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "When the world doesn't make space for you, you learn to find corners, cracks, places they don't think to look." He watched her as she handed him a bottle of warm water and a sandwich wrapped in napkins. "Where did you get this?" "Miss Maggie. She works the bakery 2 blocks over. She gives leftovers if I'm alone. Doesn't like when I bring people." "Why?" "Because people take. They don't just eat, they take trust, safety." Liam said nothing. For the first time, he felt like he was on the wrong end of history. Later that afternoon, they returned to the small shelter under the tarp. The wind carried distant sirens and the metallic screech of a subway far below street level. Ava crouched beside a crate and pulled out a small box. Inside were bits and pieces, old tokens, a rubber band ball, a photo torn in half. She handled each item with reverence, like they were more valuable than diamonds. Liam reached toward the torn photo. "Who's that?" She froze. "No one. That's you, right?" She nodded slowly. "And someone I barely remember. I think she was my mom." "You think?" "I was 5 when she disappeared. Left me outside a clinic and never came back. They said she might have been sick. Or scared. Or both. Did you ever look for her?" Ava hesitated, then whispered. "I did. But after a while, you stopped chasing ghosts. They only ever haunt you." Silence settled between them. Liam leaned back against the wall, his thoughts unraveling. In his world, problems were fixed with credit cards and lawyers. But here, the broken things stayed broken, and somehow the people kept going. As evening approached, Ava became more restless. Her eyes darted to shadows. Her fingers fidgeted. Liam noticed. "What's wrong?" "There were 2 men. The ones who followed you. They're still around. Someone said they were asking questions about you." "Why would anyone follow me?" "I don't know. But this isn't a mugging. This is something else." Liam's stomach tightened. He reached into his bag and pulled out a folded envelope. Ava narrowed her eyes. "What's that?" "A letter. I wrote it months ago, when I thought about running away. I never sent it. It was for my father." Ava unfolded it slowly. The words were raw, written in shaky pen strokes. "If one day you notice I'm gone, maybe it'll be the first time you ever saw me." She looked up. "He never saw this, did he?" "No. Do you think he'd care?" Liam hesitated. "He might now. But I'm not sure if it's too late." Suddenly, a noise cut through the quiet, the metallic clatter of a trash bin. Heavy footsteps. Ava's posture straightened. She yanked Liam's arm. "We need to move. Now." They ran, weaving through alleys and narrow passages. Ava led him behind an abandoned auto shop and into a collapsed stairwell that descended into a half-flooded basement. The air was thick with mildew. She pulled a tarp over the entrance and held her breath. Minutes passed. Then came voices. Muffled. "Mail. Clothes." She was seen near here. "With him. Keep your eyes open." Footsteps again. Then silence. Liam's hands trembled. Ava placed hers over his. "You're not a ghost anymore," she said gently. "Now they want you because you matter. I didn't ask for this. Neither did I. But here we are." They stayed hidden until the sun began to fade from the broken windows above them. When they emerged, the world looked different. Not safer, just clearer. Liam knew he couldn't go home yet. Not with men like that still looking for him. And Ava, she couldn't run forever. That night, they found shelter behind a church that had long since closed its doors. There was a patch of soft dirt under an awning. Liam collapsed onto a threadbare mat. Ava sat beside him, knees pulled to her chest, eyes staring at the moon peeking between buildings. "You think your dad is looking for you now?" she asked. "I don't know." Ava studied his face, then whispered, "I hope he is. Because this time, you deserve to be found." Liam said nothing, but deep in his chest something shifted. Again, not anger, not shame, hope. "Now tell us, if someone pulled you from danger but asked for nothing in return, would you trust them or question their motive?" That night, Liam barely slept. Every sound echoed louder than it should have. Every gust of wind felt like a warning. But when he opened his eyes and saw Ava still sitting near him, watching the empty street with quiet focus, something inside him settled. He didn't feel safe exactly, but he felt seen. The girl who lived in shadows had become the only light he trusted. The following morning, Ava led him through a network of alleys she knew by heart, heading toward a shelter run by a woman named Clara. "She doesn't ask questions," Ava explained. "But she has rules. You break them, you leave." Liam nodded. He wasn't used to following rules outside of his prep school. But these were different. These were survival rules. Clara was in her 60s, with wiry gray hair tied back in a scarf and the kind of eyes that made you sit up straighter. When she saw Ava, her expression softened. "I heard whispers," Clara said. "You've stirred up some trouble, girl." Ava glanced at Liam. "It found me." Clara's eyes landed on him. "And you must be the boy they're hunting. Lucky she found you before they did." Inside, the shelter was cramped but clean, blankets stacked in corners, canned food lining the walls, and a radio playing soft jazz in the background. Liam felt the weight of his last name pressing against the silence. Back in his world, he was Liam Carter, the son of Alexander Carter, CEO of Carter Holdings, a man who moved stock markets and silenced headlines. But here, he was just a scared 17-year-old with a name no one cared about. Clara gave them a small back room. "You stay out of trouble. Sight. If anyone comes asking, I don't know you." Later that day, the news finally broke. Liam's face appeared on TV screens across the city. Missing teen Liam Carter, son of billionaire mogul Alexander Carter, has not been seen for 3 days. Last seen leaving his school on foot. Police say foul play is suspected. Ava turned the volume down. "So he finally noticed," Liam's jaw tightened. "He's not worried about me. He's worried about what people will think." Back at Carter Holdings, Alexander Carter was already spiraling. His office had become a war room, lawyers, PR specialists, security consultants. Everyone had a plan, but no one had answers. And then came the envelope. No return address. Inside was a single sentence, written in black ink. "Now you'll know what it feels like to lose something." He recognized the handwriting. It belonged to a former employee, Gil Batista. Fired years ago after exposing internal fraud. Silenced. Forgotten. Until now. Alexander turned to his chief of security. "Find out who else is involved. And protect my son. Whatever it costs." But Liam didn't need protecting. Not from the streets. What he needed was truth. That night, as Ava handed him a bowl of warm soup and sat beside him on the cold floor, Liam looked at her and asked, "Why did you help me? Why not just let me get caught?" Ava didn't answer right away. Then she said quietly, "Because I saw someone who was just as invisible as me." Liam blinked. "I'm not invisible." "No. You screamed without sound, didn't you? I've seen it before. You were begging to be seen. And no one looked." He didn't argue. Because it was true. For all the luxury, all the cameras, all the eyes watching his father's success, no one ever truly looked at him. The next day, Clara pulled Ava aside. 2 men came around earlier. Asked about you and the boy. Said they were private investigators. But they didn't have questions, they had threats. Ava's face went still. "We'll go." "No," Clara said. "You stay here. I'll make sure they don't come back." But that night, Ava couldn't rest. Something felt off, the way the wind hit the windows, the hum of the street. She nudged Liam awake. "Get up. We're leaving." But Clara said, "She's tough. But if they come back with weapons, she can't stop them. We can't risk it." They snuck out through the back exit and disappeared into the maze of alleyways. Ava led them to an abandoned train yard. There, in an old maintenance shack, they found temporary refuge. No heat. No lights. just walls that muffled the city's breath. Liam leaned against the wall, his hands shaking. I don't get it. Why would they come after me? Ava pulled out a crumpled note from her pocket. It had been slipped under their shelter door the day before. Your father signed papers years ago. Fired people who were trying to expose something big. One of them was Gil Batista. He wants revenge. And your leverage. Liam felt his throat tighten. This is my fault. No, Ava said firmly. It's his choices. You just got caught in the echo. In that moment, the door creaked. Heavy steps. 2 figures blocked the entrance. Well, well, a voice sneered. The golden boy and the ghost girl. Gil Batista and Sandro Vega stepped into the room. Liam stood up, fists clenched. Ava stepped in front of him. You don't want to do this, she said. Oh, but we already have, Gil smiled. Your daddy's going to pay, in cash or blood. Before either man could move, headlights exploded through the broken windows. Police, drop your weapons. In the chaos, Ava grabbed Liam's hand and pulled him outside. Officers swarmed. Shots rang out. And in the distance, standing next to a black SUV, Alexander Carter stood frozen, watching the chaos unravel around his son. Liam stumbled toward him, eyes wide. Alexander stepped forward, his face ashen. Liam. Liam stopped. You're late. Alexander's eyes glistened. I know. I was blind. I should have. Seen me, Liam finished. Yeah, you should have. 2 days later, Liam stood beside Ava in a courtroom hallway. She had just testified as a key witness in the case that would expose years of corruption in Carter Holdings. Reporters swarmed. Microphones hovered. But she didn't flinch. She just held Liam's hand and walked out the doors like she'd done it 1,000 times. A week passed. Then another. And one night, as Ava sat alone on the back porch of Alexander's quiet mansion, a soft knock came from behind. Liam stepped out and handed her a small envelope. What's this? She asked. He smiled. Open it. Inside was a document. At the top, petition for legal guardianship. Alexander Carter's name was listed. So was hers. I don't want you to ever feel like no one sees you again, Liam said. This house, this family, it's yours too. If you want it. She looked at the paper, then back at him. And if I say no? Then we're still your home, he said gently. With or without the paper. Tears welled in her eyes. But she didn't let them fall. She just nodded. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled without flinching. Now let me ask you, how did this story make you feel? Did it touch something real inside you? Would you have made the same choices if you were Ava or Liam? If this story moved you, comment 100 down below. Tell us which country you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this story with someone who believes that love isn't about where you come from.